Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, it's gonna be a beautiful sunrise. Out here walking around. This is gonna be they just opened up the new ramp over here. Our new office is gonna be back there, our new break room. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. They're not parking airplanes here yet, but I think they're gonna start parking them out here by the end of the month. But yeah, but our new office is gonna be right there. It's gonna be a brand new ramp. It's gonna be fun. Welcome back, everybody, and yes, indeed, lots of fun, and I missed the end gates. We haven't had them for quite some time because it was all under construction, and as I said, they're going to plan on opening this up by the end of October. I always enjoyed working the end gates because, first of all, it's nice and breezy, and it's just an open space environment. Once they open up these gates, they're going to close down, I think, the ones on the inside of the terminal or deeper down and proceed on construction over there. The whole revamp of the terminal is going to be fantastic. And in case you guys are new to the channel, I work at LAX, and this is Terminal 4. Well, without further ado, come on, let's go. We got a lot of work to do. This weekend was incredibly busy, packed with lots of maintenance, and on top of that, we actually found some time to go up to the tower. And when I say tower, a friend of mine in the tower invited me. I'm talking about the ATC tower, by the way. I got to go up there for the very first time in I've never been up there. So yeah, it's going to be incredible. Got my assignments, took the scenic route, and we're going to walk all the way around the terminal and end up at gate 41 because that's where I'm assigned. So our airplane's going to be there. But meanwhile, enjoy the view. There's our first airplane. This one just came up from the hangar. I think this is going out to Charlotte. So do a quick little walk around. The usual. Let's see. Let's make it clickety clack. You know, it's interesting. Some majority of our Airbuses, the dust cover, it usually hides the tie bolts. I like these ones a lot more because you can see the tie bolts. You can see them and inspect them. On the other ones, you simply can't. You know, they're hidden. The shroud like covers this whole area. But I like this style a lot better because you can actually see it. A bit later in the video, you'll see it with the shroud. Now, I don't know why they designed some like this and some with the shroud covering the tie bolt. I suppose it's just the evolution of the aircraft. An engineer probably can answer that one better than I can. Sometimes you guys ask, Stig, how come you sometimes change oxygen bottles? Well, on every flight, pilots will test their oxygen like this. See? So, and in case of emergency, obviously, they'll pop this out. They'll pull this thing out and breathe normally. But yeah. That's why oxygen most of the time depletes, because every flight gets tested. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Here you go. That's what it looks like. So first and foremost, pilots have their own dedicated oxygen. It's not like the oxygen that's in the cabin. That's a whole separate thing that's created by oxygen generators, that, you know, the little drop-down masks. This oxygen comes from a bottle. I've shown you guys how I change bottles before in previous videos. So the reasoning behind oxygen masks and an oxygen for the pilots is in case of loss of cabin pressurization and to prevent any kind of hypoxia. And it's also there for any kind of smoke or poisonous fumes, hence why you see the full face guard. In case of any kind of these emergencies, pilots will don these face masks
and breathe, and they have options within them. But another cool feature is that they still need to communicate within these masks. These masks come with a microphone inside, so communication is still available. The communication portion is that little wire attached to the oxygen source on the tube itself. The way you put this oxygen mask on, you will depress those two buttons on the side, the red ones, and it will inflate the back strap area. You can simply slip it onto your face. Now let me show you the options that are available on the mask itself. The mask itself has its own regulator, and it has three separate functions. There's an air/oxygen mixture with an ultrametric automatic control. You also have an option for 100% pure oxygen, and you have 100% pure oxygen with overpressure manual control. So the button that you just saw me press, that's part of the 100% oxygen supply without overpressure. When the N/100% rocker switch is in the 100% position, the user breathes pure oxygen at all altitudes. When it's in the N position, the user is breathing a combination of pure oxygen and the ambient air around them, the air that's in the cabin. Then you got the emergency option. That's the little knob at the bottom that I switch. So this is a very special one. Let's say there's smoke in the cabin or fumes in the cabin. Remember, that mask seals your whole face. What that does is now is forcibly pushing oxygen into your lungs. You don't need to voluntarily breathe in anymore. Now it's just pure oxygen being forced into you. This is that overpressure function when it's necessary to breathe within smoke or poisonous gases. If it's not in the emergency detent, then it's on demand. And what does it mean when I say on demand? It means as soon as you put that mask in and you naturally breathe in, it will feed you oxygen. When you exhale, it will not feed you oxygen. But once again, once you put that to emergency, it no matter what, whether you breathe in or breathe out, it's going to force oxygen into you. And the test button, well, it's a test button. You press it to test the regulator. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you need to have the 100% oxygen selector in order to operate the overpressure function. There's an oxygen mask for everybody that can fit inside the flight deck. For example, this is a 321. You can fit 4 people in this flight deck. That means you need to have 4 oxygen sources or masks. One for the pilot, one for the first officer, and for the 2 observers. Very quick little walk through the cabin, make sure everything's okay. Let's see. I think a couple of weeks back I talked to you guys about the plates at the bottom, but one thing I didn't talk about is some portions of the door. Let's talk about this right here. So there's a couple of things happening right here. Cabin pressure, and then you got another little white plate right there. Both of those are lights. To simply put it, the cabin pressure light is as it states. It will designate or notify people on the outside that the cabin is still pressurized if they attempt to open the door from the outside or the inside. The one on its left, the flat plate, that's also a light. That's to designate if the slide is armed or disarmed. Well, if it's armed, to be more specific, because when it is, it will light up. And once again, these lights will come on when somebody actually tries to open the door. This is all tied into proximity switches and sensors that are built into these exits and entries, the doors. I'm trying to give you guys a simplified version of this because there's a lot of parameters that have to be in place for these things to actually light up and function. Would you believe me if I told you the cabin pressure light actually talks to the engine oil pressure switches? I'll save that for another day because we're going to go down a rabbit hole if we start doing that. But in any case, the point being is that anybody that walks up to an airplane, they always look through that little window to see a thumbs up that it's okay to open the door. Getting a confirmation from our lovely flight attendants from the inside saying, we are completely depressurized, you're cleared to open the door and let the passengers come on out. And that's why every single commercial aircraft have windows, small windows, on every single exit door.
So I was doing a walk around and look what I found missing. Well, these are your static wicks, right? These are static wicks.
Let me correct myself and state this properly. The correct term is static dischargers. Me being taught by the older generation, we always used to call them static wicks. Every single aircraft has these, even down to general aviation, even helicopters. So, a bit of a description and operation of why they are there. Aircraft are made out of metal and composite. Flying through the sky, you still build up static electricity throughout the fuselage and the wings. Aircraft have very sensitive equipment for radios as well as navigation. During flight, due to the wind crossing the surfaces of the aircraft can become charged with static electricity. If static electricity is not controlled, it can cause interference in the communications and navigational systems. The static dischargers are there to decrease this interference. There's also a third reason: lightning strikes. It's a way for lightning, or the charge of the lightning, to exit the aircraft. And most of the time, pretty much 80% of the time, it will exit a static wick or a static discharger, and it will completely eradicate it. It will just blow it off. Most of you that I talk to are very much electricity aficionados, and you understand most of this stuff. So when I say decrease the voltage level necessary to start corona discharge, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, in this particular situation that I noticed this, a static wick was missing on the left wingtip. And don't worry, it wasn't a lightning strike. You'll find it funny because it's held on by a very small fastener. Let's look at it.
One was missing. It's not broken. Funny enough, it's probably the little Allen nut backed off and this thing just slides off. And that's right, it just went bye-bye. It didn't blow off, so I know it's not a lightning strike. Oh yeah, no worries. We had one in stock right here, brand new one. I'm gonna put that in. We're also gonna do a bond check real quick, a resistance check. So make sure everything's okay. Yeah, let's put this back on and call it a day.
I made it sound simple, but it really is not that simple. You actually need another piece of equipment. You need a mega ohm meter. So most of you pretty much know what a multimeter is. You can read AC, DC voltage, resistance, all sorts of stuff. Now, a mega ohm meter is a special type of ohm meter. It's made to measure the electrical resistance of insulators. And guess what the fuselage of the aircraft is, since it's metal? Yeah, one big insulator. A regular small multimeter or an ohm meter cannot measure the resistance throughout the whole fuselage. It just does not have enough power. So you need a mega ohm meter. And it needs its own power source. That's why you saw the plug. In order to read proper resistance, you actually have to send energy throughout the system or the fuselage of the aircraft in order for the resistance to come back. This is what we call bond testing. Testing the bond resistance between the static discharger and the aircraft structure. Now, most of the time, this is reserved for the avionics guys, and they take care of this, but they were super busy with another airplane, so I already know how to do this, so I just said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So the procedure goes like this. You basically attach the leads between the static discharger tip and the static discharger retainer. I'm just going to tell you right now, I did not capture me doing the process because I needed both my hands. But I'll explain to you what the manual actually calls out for. So measuring the resistance between the tip of the discharger and the retainer. There are different types of static dischargers, so you have to pay attention to the manual and know what type of resistance that you actually need to read. Mine was the B type. That means my resistance values needed to be between 6 and 200 mega ohms. From my recollection, I believe it read around 75 mega ohms. So I installed it, torqued it, and it was good to go.
There you go. All nice and secure. Resistance check passed. Good to go, torqued and ready to go. Sorry, I couldn't show you the rest of it. I needed both my hands, but yeah. Anyway, that's good. Easy fix. Woo, look at that. Ready. Anyway, let's sign this off. Let's get it to go. Most people don't realize how actually massive these wingtip fences are. What these type are called fences. But yeah, pretty cool. Pretty big. Anyway, let's get out of here. Next office. One of our Neos that just came in. I think this one's going out to Dallas. Yeah, looking nice. And here's what I meant by earlier. What about the shrouds? Look at the top. Look at the wheels. See? You can't see the tie bolts. They're covered up. Next office. Let's see now. Seatbelt for the flight attendant frayed. Easy change. I got my tools here. There. There. Take the inertial reel out. Super easy.
Once again, I could not capture the whole disassembly, but it's a simple process with a bit of manipulation to the seat itself, because the way the inertial reel winds through the seat, you kind of have to dislodge the whole seat to come forward in order to get it to you. Well, to open up a gap so the new seatbelt can fit through. But there you go. That's the end product. We installed it. Good to go. Yep. And re-secured all the padding. Good to go. Yeah.
Anybody need a spare seatbelt? Maybe I should put this on my Toyota.
That seatbelt harness cost almost $1,800. Insane amount of money for a seatbelt.
On to our next problem. Okay, now inside the aft cargo pit of a 321 Neo. So, the water valve to when they service water is right here. The handle that goes to a flex line right here. That's the handle I was talking about that's broken. Well, the cable inside. See, nothing happens. Anyway.
Since the line is broken, we got to open that valve manually.
So, down there at the bottom, the flex line broke. So the handle's just flopping back and forth. You can't really open it to service or depressurize. So you have to go all the way back here to this portion of the valve, if my camera can catch it. Right there. See it? Right there. So that valve has to be manually opened and closed. So right now I pulled it and it's open. So now they're servicing. And as soon as they're done servicing, I gotta move that valve back that way for it to close. And they gotta do this for every flight. Fun! Ain't that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's put this into a little bit of context here. That we're talking about the water tank. And the water tank, the fill and drain handle had broken. It was already on MEL, minimum equipment list. And on every single flight, a mechanic has to go back into the back of the aircraft. This is located where the bulk cargo pit is. There's a back wall panel that they need to remove and manually open and close that valve. A huge inconvenience, but it has to be done. When the aircraft does have enough time on ground and parts are available, this will be fixed. But until then, we got to do this manually. And I know somebody's going to ask, Stig, what's going to happen if the aircraft gets dispatched to a station where we have no maintenance? Well, guess what? The planners and the scheduling department knows exactly where the airplane's going to go. They won't schedule the airplane to go to a destination that does not have maintenance. Make sense? Okay, good. That's the cable or the flex line that's in question right there. That's the flex line that was damaged. I showed you the handle from the outside, and this is the schematic of it, so you can kind of get a visual reference of how this thing routes itself. Oh, and a quick little informational piece on the water tank itself. The water tank is actually made out of carbon fiber reinforced plastic. Same with the waste tank. The capacity of the water tank on the 321 is about 53 gallons or 200 liters.
Ooh, oh yeah. That's your water tank. That's your poop tank. Right there, and all the way back there. Right there, that thing. That's your vacuum generator.
Vacuum generator that's what it is. It creates vacuum within the toilet system. So when you go to the bathroom or the lavatory within the aircraft, anything below 16,000 feet, it will suck out the fluid via that vacuum generator. Anything above 16,000 feet, it will utilize differential pressure. That's it.
You hear on the ground going whoosh. Right? Exactly, and that's your outflow valve right there from the inside. There you go. Anyway, wait for the service and then we'll close the valve. That's it. Close the panel. Fun. Back to the wide bodies. Beautiful 777, 300. There you go. A little bit of GE90 love for you. As always, going to Heathrow. My partner's going to do the outside. Me and you, we're going upstairs. Let's go. Looks like they already got done cleaning it. Dark airplane. Avionics is doing a reset on a system, so they had to kill power completely. So it's all right. We can still do a walk around. Little mic check.
They have megaphones there just in case the communication systems goes down, such as the PA system for announcements, so they can use a megaphone. That's why airplanes have megaphones.
Just a visual inspection, making sure all is good. Power's back on. Yay! Now, see, this is the kind of things we look for. Just one of the oxygen bottles, it just popped off. Not a big deal. There you go. Sometimes when the airplane is moving around, these little clamps pop out. But there you go, nice and secure. Don't worry, I noticed it too. So we got a brand new bulb here. And yeah, they're still fluorescent on these. Right up there. All is good.
Another successful ETOPS. Off she goes, off to London. I'll see you later, beautiful.
Well, got a little bit of downtime, and I got invited to a very special place. Come on, I'm taking you with me. This should be really fun. Someplace I've never even been before. Can you guess where it is? Well, if you guessed the tower, you guessed right. Guess what? We're going upstairs. First time ever. I am excited. This is gonna be fun. I got here a little bit too early. My friend is not there yet, but gives me a chance to show off the iconic landmark that LAX is very much known for. And there used to be a restaurant up there. I can't remember if the rumors are true or not. That thing used to rotate internally. Like, I have to read up on it. And they also got the USO over here at the bottom, the first floor. So, pretty cool.
All right, here we go. Let's go inside and check out the tower.
For the tape.
Now you have to remember, this is LAX tower, this is not Tracon. And I was lucky enough where it was a bit of downtime or not busy time. So that's how they managed to slot me in for a tour. If you're up here in the morning or in the evening, it's a madhouse.
Yeah. Traffic, so 11 to 12 o'clock, 3 miles opposite direction, Harbor South, another helicopter.
Are you guys also coordinating all the moves for the new terminal? Crossing the runways?
That's happening overnight. Good spot to watch it up here.
Man, oh man. This is far out, dude. This is so cool. Oh, you can't stop smiling at this. This is amazing. You're right, it is a clear day.
Yeah.
You can see all the way to downtown. That's nuts.
It's so good in the wind, you know, when there's like snow in the mountains in the winter, and it's like you can see so far, and it's just gorgeous.
Forgive the pause right here, but I'm gonna tell you, I was so nervous I couldn't even hold the camera straight. Not more nervous, more excited. That's the real feeling that I had. Just an exhilarating feeling of, how can I put this? You know, I felt alive. You feel alive, especially watching something like this. Watching an A380 waiting to take off and one to land. I just want to take a moment and say thank you to all ATC individuals that make this happen. Anybody that's in the tower, anybody that's in Tracon. And Josh, if you're listening, if you ever get to watch this, thank you so much for inviting me to see the LAX tower. It was an incredible honor, and I will cherish this memory forever. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking and enjoy the view. Flying building. It's not literally what it is. Man's about to hit the piano keys.
Sometimes it looks like the might be rotating.
Oh, goodness gracious. That's insane. This airport has changed so much.
Yeah.
It's just...
And it's still going.
It's still going.
I heard they scrapped this Terminal 9 thing over here. Did you hear about that?
I thought they were going to still build it, no?
Last I heard it's not, but I don't know. This shit's always changing, right?
Man. I've been from one side to the other side of this airport. I've worked Terminal 1, Terminal 2, Terminal 3.
Being up here brings things to very much perspective. For anybody on tower, I'm just a dot on the ground. For me on the ground, they're the eyes in the sky. But the beautiful part of all this is that none of the aviation aspect, that airplane taking off, It would not be possible without neither of us in that same field. Remember when I told you it takes an army of people to make that fly? That's a fact. Maintenance, pilots, ATC, ground handlers, flight attendants, airport operations, and many, many more. That's how aviation works. Teamwork.
And we're right back down to the ramp. That was a lot of fun. Thank you everybody to the tower. You guys are epic. Thank you so much. Next office. Back to work. Yeah, it needs a little bit of oil. Drink up. You're thirsty. There you go. Now you're happy. Spin for me, darling. Well, finishing up the last flight of the night, and as always, somebody's got to leave me a present. It's supposed to look like that. All right, let's change it. That'll be the last thing we do today. It's easy. It's just 4 screws right there. Comes right off. This is one of those parts that's readily available. Things we have in stock, I know for sure. Oh, almost lost that one. Yeah, poor thing fell apart. Alright, I'm just gonna get that part number and get a new one. Easy. There you go, new part. Easy. Let's go get it installed and call it a night. We got to do this all over tomorrow. As exciting as watching paint dry or grass grow. Enjoy yourselves.
There's always somebody that tells me, Stig, how come there's no Loctite? Because the manual does not call out for a Loctite. I followed the manual. This thing does not call out for Loctite. Easy. All right, let's clean up our mess and finish up paperwork. Well, that is it for tonight. Hope you all had fun. It was great, and I will see you back here early in the morning. Later. Good morning, everybody. And what a glorious morning it is. Look at that. That is beautiful. Come on. Got my coffee. I'm gonna go to work. All right, here we go. First office. Well, back in the Airbus, looks like no faults, no issues. Came with cleaning post-flight, but I noticed something, and this happens time to time when the aircraft starts getting fuel.
Left the fuel on board. See it? See the two little dashed lines? It's gone into degraded mode.
Okay, I don't know if the microphone didn't pick it up, but what I said is pay attention to the FOB, fuel on board, and you see those double dash lines on the last two digits. I said the fuel on board has gone into degraded mode. So the whole system is controlled by a computer called the FQI, the Fuel Quantity Indicating System. The FQI system gives fuel quantity indication for every single fuel tank. In this case, left, center, and right. It will calculate all that information and give you fuel on board, FOB. The way it collects this data is through fuel probes. The fuel probes on this aircraft are capacitance type. Here you go, that's what they look like. And what does that mean by capacitance type? Well, the fuel probes, which are the sensors, operate as capacitors. Be more specific, variable capacitors. These things will read the value proportion of the ratio of the fuel probe covered in air or fuel. And this is because the permittivity of the fuel is approximately twice of air. There are various reasons why you can get a degraded fuel probe or fuel reading. One example would be water within the tank. Another reason would be microbiological growth or contamination, or any kind of chemical contamination, any kind of corrosion within the tank. But in this case, none of that was happening. What was actually happening that the aircraft had came in, and obviously the fuel tanks are depleted, and now these probes are exposed to air. So time to time, when there's too much air exposure to the fuel probe itself, it will simply degrade itself like that. Not all the time it happens, but it happens. I even took the time and went through the FQIS page on the MCDU menu right here, just to make sure there's no faults or active faults, and there weren't any. Looked into the history of the aircraft if it had any kind of previous write-ups like this. There was no history at all. So at this moment, best case scenario or solution to this is simply wait and let the aircraft get fueled. Allow those probes to be covered by fuel. As soon as there was sufficient amount of fuel and covering those probes, the degraded function went away. The dashed lines go away. Now, if they didn't go away, there's a reset for this for the FQIC computer. And if that doesn't work, then we have to do further troubleshoot.
And the tank that's low on fuel will degrade, so you'll get little dashed lines right there. But now it's getting up to capacity. Now it's reading, so upgraded itself basically. It fixed itself. Didn't have to really do anything about it. Just have to wait. But yeah, see how it's now distributing fuel to proper places. Cool, easy, good to go.
Looks like we got a tire change. There you go.
We pull the proper circuit breakers. We make sure the ground safety locks are installed. Everything is being performed per AMM, Aircraft Maintenance Manual. Now I'm going to give you guys a heads up. I did not capture every single step on this one, so you're going to see bits and pieces of the job. First thing we do, we get a jack and we jack the airplane up. It doesn't go up that far, just a couple of inches.
That's gonna go right there, and we're gonna jack it up.
Up next, we remove the screen right there. That is a shield to cover the impeller for the brake fan. Then we'll remove the dust cover that's surrounding it.
Down. Move.
Now, remove the noisy brake fan. That, and then that gets removed, the clamp, and this whole assembly will basically come out. But yeah.
There you go. Tires lifted. Take the air out. Always stand to the side.
I totally forgot to mention why we're actually doing this. This is, matter of fact, a double tire change. I'm sure somebody's going to look at the tire right here and say, Stig, there's nothing wrong with that tire. It's got plenty of meat left on it. It's got lots of life. Well, the problem was we checked the tire pressure on one of those and it was below limits. It had dropped down to about 110 psi, where it's normally it should be between 219 to 229 psi. At first we thought it was a puncture, but it wasn't. When we started investigating, we discovered it was the valve stem itself, the core of the valve stem. It was leaking. It's a very rare thing to occur, but it does happen time to time. This is why we do our walkarounds, our inspections. When we did a walkaround on this, we noticed that the sidewall was a little bit too bubbled up. So we just grabbed a tire pressure gauge and just inspected it, and obviously it was below limits. Now, why did I say it's going to be a double tire change? Well, if you remember my older videos and I've talked about how wheel assemblies and tires are made, then you'll remember that these are split rims. Within these rims, you have bearings, as you can see on the inner side right there. These bearings ride on the axle. If one of those tires is deflated to a point beyond limits, we have to change both the wheels on the same truck. The reason we have to change both because if one of those tires is beyond limits, below, now the other one, the good tire, and the bearings on that tire are taking the stress factor. So to mitigate any kind of issues with the other wheel or the bearings within the other wheel, we will simply just change both the wheel assemblies. It's a precautionary thing. Oh, and also somebody within the comments in the previous video asked, where are the fusible plugs on the wheel assemblies? Right there, right between those tie bolts. Do you see that one little bolt right there? That's it. There's 3 of them on the wheel assembly, and they are on the inside of the wheel assembly. Those things will simply melt when the brake assembly exceeds any kind of high temperature. To prevent a blowout of the tire, those things will melt and release air out of the tire. After the main axle nut is removed, now we install a thread protector. When installing and removing these wheel assemblies, we don't want those threads being damaged. After removing the wheel assembly itself, now we pay attention to the axle itself. We want to make sure there's no damage on it, as well as clean it up and re-lubricate it. So it gives us a chance to take a look at the brake assembly. And yes, these are carbon brakes. As you can see, I didn't capture everything in sequence, so it's bits and pieces of the job, but I think you get the idea. Anyway, this is the dolly we're going to use, and we're going to slightly raise it and then push the wheel assembly onto the brake assembly. It's always best to keep the brakes set because it's easier to slide the wheel onto the brake assembly because the discs right there, they might spin. It's just easier this way. I mean, you can do it the other way around. You can release the brakes, but then you're adjusting every single one of those discs. Always take great caution and be very careful of that wheel assembly. It is extremely heavy. This thing can range between 290 to 440 pounds. The reason of the big gap in weight is because you have so much tire wear and how much meat is actually left on the tire, as well as the pressure within the tire. Now you're seeing that thread protector in action. That's why it's so important to install that. There we go. The tire is nice and seated all the way in. Now we remove the dolly. At this point, I can remove the thread protector and install the main nut, and then we release the brakes and begin torquing. Then we get our big old torque wrench and begin to torque. Now, I don't know what happened to my camera, but it froze right here. I think I left it under the sun or something and got overheated, but I'll explain to you the torquing process anyway. There's two sets of torque, initial and final. The initial torque is between 290 and 325-ish, so we just set it in a nice medium, so about 300 foot-pounds. As I'm torquing, the individual next to me is spinning the tire. The reasoning for this is to seat the bearings. Once it clicks over, we then loosen it back to zero, and then we apply final torque. Final torque is around 147 to about 162 foot-pounds. So again, a nice little medium. I usually set it to 150 pounds. The reason I put it right there in the middle is because there's also anti-rotation clips, or excuse me, nuts that you're gonna see here in a second. Sometimes the holes don't exactly line up, so we need to sometimes tighten it up just a little bit more. So this is why I don't go to the maximum torque value. So I can still have some play room back and forth so I can align those things. You'll see it. There you go, that's what I'm talking about. But in any case, we got everything installed, we're gonna torque it, and at this point we can bring the airplane down off of the jack. And everything basically goes in a reverse sequence. Reinstall all this mess and then do a brake fan check. Remove the safety devices, sign off paperwork, and off she goes.
And that's how we do that. 1, 2, easy. All right, let's go. Time for this thing to leave.
As I was walking back to our new office, I got to see this beautiful SAS A350-900 right here. Told you guys, the end gates are a lot more fun. You get to see a lot more things. The view is spectacular. It was the second half of the day now, swing shift, so I got reassigned and now I was doing brake riding. So the rest of the video, you're gonna see brake riding. I had a little bit of downtime in between and a few of my colleagues called me up and say, hey, there's a captain over here that wants to meet you. There's a lot of pilots that work for my carrier, obviously, that watch my videos, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And some of them that fly through LAX, they'd like to meet me, and I'm more than happy to come up and meet you guys. I definitely walked over to that gate, and me and that captain sat down and had a lovely conversation. What a gentleman, and thank you so much for all the kind words that you told me, sir. And thankfully, I had enough time. I said, you know what, Captain? I'm going to try to capture your takeoff. So that I did. I'm going to stick to my promise. And sir, if you get to watch this, this is you taking off. Right after this beautiful 777 gets pushed back. And here you go. This is a takeoff. Thank you so much once again, Captain Dean. It was a pleasure to meet you, and I hope you had a beautiful flight to Honolulu.
Got our own adventure here. Back on the move, crew. Come on. We're gonna brake ride some airplanes. Set this all up and go for a ride. Okay. I already did a walk through the cabin. Let's go. All right, got everything set up. The tow team is here. Jet bridge is being pulled. That's the alarm you're hearing. Let's close this window. Let's go for a ride.
JetBlue 1587 on Juliet for gate 59.
JetBlue 1587, taxi via Charlie to the gate.
Charlie to the gate, JetBlue 1587. Good day.
Hello, ground American 47 Bravo, top of Charlie 10 for Charlie 5.
American 47B behind JetBlue, proceed via Charlie to the right.
Charlie to the ramp behind JetBlue for American 47 Bravo.
Ground Alaska 1464, push 69A.
American 47B, flight amendment. Behind JetBlue, use Bravo Charlie 5.
After JetBlue, Bravo to Charlie 5 for American 47 Bravo.
Alaska 1464, push tail east on Charlie 25 right.
Tail east 25 right and Charlie Alaska 1464.
Good evening, Alaska 1413, clearing 25 right at Juliet.
Alaska 1413, LA ground taxi via Bravo Charlie 8 to the ramp.
Bravo Charlie to the ramp, thanks, Alaska 1413.
Alaska 1413 at the top of the alleyway, two way to company, sailing away from the off the corner gate.
Okay, we'll give way to company, Alaska 1413.
Alaska 1464, we pushing?
Yeah, we're pushing 1464.
LA ground, American -1 at Charlie 10 to Charlie 5.
American maintenance 1, proceed via Bravo Charlie 5.
Bravo, Charlie 5, American -1.
291, taxi to Charlie, Lima to the ramp.
Charlie Lima to the ramp, Delta 291.
American 3130, taxi Bravo Charlie 10.
Bravo Charlie 10, American 3130.
Alaska 1092, taxi Bravo Charlie 7.
Brakes are set. Thank you very much. Alright, that was fun. Turn that off. Turn that off. Don't need that anymore. I'll bleed air. Let it cool down. Turn these off. And just wait for a second. Get the dings. It's normal. And let's see. It's gonna cool down for a second and then it's gonna shut down. So you guys have been asking for a ghost story for quite some time, and I got one for you. The thing is, this ghost story does not happen on an airplane, but it does happen on the airfield. If I remember correctly, I believe it was 2007 or 2008. This was back when the TWA hangar was still standing. Younger years, I used to have 2 jobs, and my other job was I would work out of that hangar. Now, the story goes that back in the 70s or 60s, there was a mechanic that died, a TWA mechanic that passed away. And it happened right outside of the hangar. Fast forward to about 2007 or 8, like I said, there were other companies that were occupying that same space. One of those companies was ABX, Airborne Express, and their maintenance facility. It wasn't really even a facility, it was just one of those containers that was hollowed out and they would just put their tools. But what they did have is a fantastic shower facility, which at the time where I was working did not have no shower. Since I had 2 jobs and I literally living at the airport, I called a buddy of mine who worked at ABX and said, hey man, can I please use your shower real quick? He said, no problem, just stop on by, the door will be unlocked for you. Go do your thing, just clean up after yourself. I said, no problem, I'll be right there. And I did. I went over there, door was unlocked. So I get there and all the lights are on for me. I went in and I started taking a shower. While I'm taking a shower, all of a sudden I hear a bunch of ruckus, like people walking around, footsteps, doors opening and closing. And I say to myself, oh my goodness, it's the ABX guys, the mechanics. They don't know I'm here. Only my friend knows I'm there. I need to hurry up, clean up, get dressed, and get out there and explain myself so they don't panic. You know, some stranger is in their facility. I quickly got dressed. As I open the door, the lights now are completely off. All of the lights are off. It's pitch black. My first instinct was to reach for my flashlight, and back then, I used to carry the classic old school mag lights, the C-cells. I turn the flashlight on, the bulb goes super bright, brighter than it should. And you know those things are not bright at all. This thing goes so bright, it pops the bulb. And I'm standing there, well, that's some bad luck. Okay, fine, it's okay. There's still a little bit of light shining through the window. So I reach for the office door to get out. The door is locked. Now panic starts to set in. I'm thinking to myself, these guys locked me in and they don't even know I was here. All of a sudden, I feel the temperature drop. I saw my own breath. Oh yeah, by the way, it says middle of July. Now the hairs on the back of my head are starting to stand up. And then I start hearing footsteps behind me in the other office across. I start calling out. I'm like, hey, I'm here. There's somebody here. But there's no answer. I just hear footsteps going back and forth. And I hear chairs being moved around. At this point, I just want to get out. So there's a little wall rack right next to that door, and there's a bunch of keys hanging in it. By some sheer luck, I reached out and I grabbed the first key and I put it in that door lock, and miraculously it opened. Literally a random key. I did not even bother looking back. I closed that door and ran out that facility. I called my buddy who worked at ABX. I said, hey dude, what's going on with your office? Were your guys working there? And he said, no dude, there was nobody there. Everybody on shift had already gone home. I'm like, there's somebody there. And then he chuckled at me and he goes, you met Roger. And I'm saying, who the heck is Roger? And he goes, oh yeah, that's our ghost. He's there time to time. He's a little playful. And I told him, you did not want to mention this to me while I'm taking a shower at 3 a.m. in the morning?
And he tells me, don't worry about it. He doesn't mean any harm. He just does it for laughs. Well, I sure as heck was not laughing. Yeah, I never went back to that facility ever again during nighttime. But anyway, that's the ghost story. Oh, and here's the TWA hangar, and you get to see it getting demolished. Lots of fond memories at the hangar. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, that's all for the ghost story. Come on, we got one more airplane to move, and that's about it.
All right, one more airplane. Let's go. Just realized, I think we had nothing but Airbuses today. Oh no, I think we had, I can't even remember anymore. It's been a long day. All right, let's go. Set this one up as well. Take it back. So far, so good. No little disco party. All right, stop messing around. Here we go.
Cover 2089.
Alaska 1053 on November, contact ground 121.65.
2165 on November, have a good night, Alaska 1056.
On our flight 2089, go ahead.
Cover 29, 225, request pushback.
You need to talk to the ramp.
Sorry.
American 42 Alpha, push tail east on Charlie.
Charlie and 944.
United 72 Alpha, proceed Charlie to the ramp.
Charlie to the ramp, United 72 Alpha.
American 42 Alpha, proceed Charlie to the ramp.
Charlie to ramp, American 42 Alpha.
LA ground, American Maintenance 5 at November 1, taxi to Charlie 5.
American Maintenance 5, do you need a tail out or can you proceed right away?
We can proceed right away.
American Maintenance 5, proceed via November, Bravo, and hold short of Lima.
November, Bravo, short of Lima, American Maintenance 5. Montana, Sharon, American Maintenance 1 at Charlie 9 for Charlie 17.
American Maintenance 1, proceed via Charlie to the ramp.
Via Charlie for American Maintenance 1.
maintain dip 5, continue via Bravo, Charlie 5 to the ramp.
Bravo, Charlie 5 to the ramp, American Maintenance 5.
American Maintenance 1 at November, give way off the direction southwest.
Give way to southwest off the direction on November for American Maintenance 1.
Ground American 2364, crossing 25 out on Chile. I'm going to Charlie 9 alleyway. American 2364, Charlie to the ramp. Charlie to the ramp, 2364. Southwest 3589, Charlie, November, hold short November 2. Charlie, November, short November 2, Southwest 3589. Southwest 3589 on November, contact ground 121.75.
Contact ground 12165 on November.
You said it correct, 0.65.
Crash go edge 5398 up Charlie 6. We have Charlie ready for taxi.
Guys, 5398 on the ground, runway 25 right, taxi.
Brakes are set. Thank you very much. Well, guys, that is it for the night, and that's it for the weekend. I hope you guys all had fun, enjoyed it, learned some new stuff, and saw some cool things. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys on the next adventure. Later. And good night. That's all, folks. What can I say? It was a very busy weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed all of this. As I was doing my final walk around, I noticed something on this airplane, and it's a very special airplane. Check out the decal on the side. That's right. This is the 7500 Airbus 321 built. Pretty cool, right? Well, in any case, thank you all for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you on the next adventure. Later!